The film starts with three men hunting in the forest, when one of them, Dale, separates from his companions in pursuit of his prey. Moments later, Dale locates his target and prepares to pull the trigger of his rifle, when unexpectedly a large bald man appears and pushes Dale off the cliff, killing him instantly. The bald man is Ryan Varrett, an ex-cop on a mission of vengeance after his family was brutally murdered a few years prior, and Dale is one of his family's killers. After eliminating Dale, Ryan drives to a small town called Hope, but it's no ordinary town. It turns out that Hope is under control of the Circle, a drug and arms-dealing biker gang led by Drayke Salgado, who is on the ATF's most wanted list. Ryan's aware of this, but is undeterred. He drives into the town regardless. Moreover, Sheriff Cole is in Drayke's pocket, so Ryan only has himself to depend on. Once there, Ryan enters a gas station to buy some items and gather information on where he can stay. The owner, named Kirby, directs him to the only motel in town. The motel, run by a younger woman named Darcy, is empty of visitors, as it's rare for anyone from out of town to visit Hope. Darcy herself doesn't understand why Ryan dares to come to Hope, given its town's dangerous reputation, but Ryan simply states that he came here for some business. Meanwhile, an FBI special agent, Frank Sutton, is organizing a plan with his colleagues to hunt down Dale, who, in addition to his crime of killing people, is also a rapist. But while they're discussing, another agent enters the room and tells them that Dale has been found dead. The scene then shifts to a flashback of when Ryan was a cop. He was celebrating with his family and friends when suddenly a group of criminals arrived and started shooting everyone, including Ryan and his family. The leader of the attackers was none other than Drayke Santiago, who committed the crime because he had a grudge against the police officers who had imprisoned him in the past. He was determined to get revenge by killing those cops and all their families. Ryan was one of the cops he targeted. Miraculously, Ryan managed to survive despite being shot. In the present, Ryan is seen driving around town when he comes across some bikes parked in front of a building. Moments later, a biker gang member emerges from the building and, seeing that the dog keeps barking at him, he gets agitated. So he pulls out his gun, intending to silence the dog. Fortunately, before he can pull the trigger, Ryan intervenes and teaches him a lesson by beating him up. But the commotion caused by Ryan is overheard by the gang members inside. They quickly rush out of the building to check out what's happening. The gang leader, Drayke, is there. However, Drayke seems to have forgotten Ryan's face, which makes sense considering how many people he's killed. And even though Ryan has beaten up one of his gang members, he decides to let Ryan go. He doesn't have time to deal with Ryan now as he has some urgent business to attend to. Still, he feels suspicious of Ryan, so he orders his younger brother, Rex, to keep an eye on the bald man. The next day, Rex meets Drayke to inform him that a club owner refuses to pay them the protection fee. Enraged, Drayke challenges the club owner to a one-round boxing match with him. If the man wins, Drayke promises he'll never again ask him to pay the protection fee. But even though Drayke is quite old, he's still strong. He defeats the big man without any trouble. The forgiving Drayke then decides to let the man go. After all, Drayke still needs the money, and the man wouldn't be able to give Drayke any more if he's dead. But extortion isn't the only way Drayke and his gang make money. They also manufacture and sell meth, and the person responsible for overseeing the lab is Rex. Indeed, Rex has many duties in the gang. Besides monitoring their meth lab, he has to keep an eye on Ryan. So later that night, Rex goes to Darcy's motel to ask her if a big bald guy named Ryan is staying there, but she refuses to answer his polite question, forcing Rex to threaten her. He'll kill her if she refuses to tell him where Ryan is. And you can bet he says those threatening words with a menacing look on his face. Ryan happens to be at the motel and overhears Rex threatening Darcy, so he stops Rex in the only way he knows how, with violence. Seeing Rex being beaten and thrown around, Darcy warns Ryan that the person he's beating is the younger brother of the Circle gang leader, Drayke, and Drayke will retaliate if he finds his brother being tortured. But Ryan doesn't care. Instead, he takes Rex to the front of the gang's lab and ties him to a car. Then he lets the car drive up and crash into the lab, causing it to explode. Rex dies in the explosion, the lab is destroyed, and Ryan leaves satisfied. It doesn't take long for Drayke and the gang to notice the explosion. They rush to the lab, but there's nothing they can do but stare sadly at the rising flames. Except for Drayke. He's furious after learning that his beloved brother is dead. Not long after, the sheriff and one of his men arrive at the scene to investigate. Drayke and the others are still there, and when he sees Sheriff Cole, he approaches him and threatens him. He says if Sheriff Cole dares to interfere, he'll wipe out his entire family. Sheriff Cole doesn't have the courage to contradict Drayke's words, so he obliges. The next day, Ryan is at it again, targeting a truck belonging to a gang about to deliver drugs to another city. He follows the convoy stealthily before puncturing the truck's tire, forcing the driver to exit. But as the driver steps out, Ryan ambushes him and slams the man's head against the car door. Then he detonates the truck. The truck's destruction catches the attention of a gang member who reports it to Drayke. Drake's furious because the truck is loaded with some valuable cargo. He's lost a significant amount of money due to the destruction caused by an unknown assailant. Determined to find and punish the perpetrator, Drayke suspects it might be Ryan. To confirm his suspicions, Drayke orders his men to bring Kirby to their base. He then instructs Kirby to help him investigate Ryan and uncover his identity. If Ryan is found guilty, Drayke vows to eliminate him without hesitation. Fearing for his life, Kirby reluctantly complies. Later that day, Kirby begins his investigation of Ryan. He checks Ryan's car parked near the hotel, hoping to find information about him. But while he's snooping around, Ryan exits the motel and catches him, forcing Kirby to halt his investigation. Awkwardly, Kirby invites Ryan to his house nearby. However, Ryan is cautious. When they arrive at Kirby's house, Ryan questions Kirby about his earlier search of his car. Kirby admits that Drayke ordered him to investigate Ryan. Just as Kirby finishes speaking, they hear a motorcycle stop outside the house. It's one of Drayke's men, Crab, who challenges Ryan to a fight. Ryan defeats him quickly, but lets him leave. Meanwhile, Drayke meets with Sheriff Cole to investigate Ryan. From their conversation, Drayke learns that Ryan is an ex-cop who left the force after his family was murdered. Drayke thanks Sheriff Cole for the information and rewards him. Later that night, Drayke and his men go to Kirby's house while he sleeps. Drayke is disappointed in Kirby's incompetence in finding information about Ryan, so he orders Crab to kill Kirby as punishment. After Kirby is killed by Crab, Drake's right-hand man, FBI agent Sutton, arrives in town, and Cole tries to convince him that Rex's death was an accident. Cole thinks that by appeasing the bikers, he's protecting the town from more bloodshed. Ryan learns about Kirby's death and knows that it was Drake's gang who killed him. With no time to spare, Ryan goes to one of Drake's clubs and defeats all of his men. He kidnaps Crab, burns him to death, and leaves the body outside Drake's headquarters. Drayke is enraged to see his right-hand man dead, and orders the remaining men to gather and prepare for a confrontation with Ryan. Since Cole's not much help, Sutton goes to Cole's son, Deputy Hedge, who's not in Drake's pocket. Hedge claims that a long time ago, the Circle used to protect the town. That was before Drayke took over and started running guns. Rex provided Drayke with a recipe for meth, and Drayke and his gang started selling drugs too. However, Drayke and his gang are arming themselves for an all-out war against Ryan, and they don't care who they have to kill. Later that night at the motel, Darcy hears suspicious noises and grabs her shotgun. Ryan, anticipating trouble, asks Darcy to take cover behind the reception desk. Drake's men enter, and Ryan waits until they're close before telling Darcy to turn off the lights. Gunshots ring out in the darkness, and when Darcy turns the lights back on, all the gang members are dead. Remarkably, Ryan is unscathed, but he realizes the motel is not safe. He takes Darcy with him. However, Ryan doesn't realize Drake's men are waiting nearby. They ambush Ryan, beat him unconscious, and when he wakes up tied to a chair, he finds himself face to face with Drayke. Ryan and Darcy are on an abandoned ferry boat that Drayke uses as his headquarters. Drayke threatens to kill both Ryan and Darcy. Before killing Darcy, he intends to torment her. Drayke leaves his man Prospect to beat Ryan up, but Ryan manages to break free from his restraints and takes care of Prospect. Now free, Ryan searches the ship headquarters for Darcy, but encounters more of Drake's men. They surround him, but Ryan proves too formidable for them. After looking for Darcy for some time, Ryan finally finds her bound and gagged. He frees her, and they begin to look for an escape route. However, Drayke is determined not to let Ryan get away. Ryan realizes it's time for their final showdown and tells Darcy to escape while he confronts Drayke. Before they fight, Drayke reveals he remembers Ryan as the ex-cop whose family he slaughtered. He thought Ryan was dead all this time. Meanwhile, Deputy Hedge goes to his father's house and finds Cole has shot himself. With Sutton's help, Hedge plans to go after Drayke. The duel between Ryan and Drayke begins, and although Ryan gains the upper hand, Drayke tries to stab him from behind with a knife. FBI agent Sutton shows up and shoots Drayke dead in the nick of time. The FBI have come to eradicate Drake's gang, who have oppressed the town for far too long. In the aftermath, Sutton decides not to arrest Ryan, recognizing his potential value to law enforcement. Ryan decides to depart from Hope, leaving behind a promise of a future encounter with Sutton. On the other hand, Darcy decides that she's going to stay in Hope, and Hedge becomes the new sheriff. Ryan bids Darcy goodbye, but promises her that he'll send a postcard to let her know where he is. The movie ends as Ryan drives away from the town, having finally avenged his family.